When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world.
I'd buy that for $1.
Greetings! You're watching SeptumSin versus the world. I'm SeptumSin, and I'm with Kotobuki Jake.
Right?
You might see that we're just relaxing and reclining.
Yep.
Maybe reclining a little bit.
Not reclining yet.
Alright,
There we go.
let's see if we can get this to work. Oh, yep,
Nope,
now
that
we're
didn't
reclining.
that didn't quite work.
There you go.
Yeah,
I'm not going to bother.
Yeah, whatever.
So, this is a conversation. And this is what we call our Vlogcast.
Yep.
Now, for those of you who are familiar with our previous Vlogcast attempts, might want to know what this is about. This is just about a simple conversation. It's not about videos, it's not about editing, it's not about trying to be timely. This is a simple conversation of us shooting the crap with movies and, of course, chatting with you down in the comments.
In other words, we all just geeking out.
So, while you're doing your stuff throughout the day, you can just have us on in the background, chatting away. Don't worry, this isn't going to change much. We're here in a relaxed mood, talk about us, talk about what we think is fun and entertaining in the world. And you, my dear readers, or listeners, or viewers, or any of the above, are along for the ride.
Mm-hmm.
So, any case, what you been watching?
What I've been watching.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Well, I've been watching and reading and generally taking in all kinds of fun stuff the last couple of weeks, because it's been a couple of weeks since I've been able to come out here, unfortunately, and we both had very different family obligations last week that prevented getting together out here, but so a little bit of catching up to do. As far as viewing goes, one of the notable ones is I finally finished my viewing of the Squid Girl collection.
Woo.
And Ikomosume is a great show. It is. It is a great show. It is not perfect. It's a little silly, but it's a lot of fun. Really, really fun. And I love the character who's trying to punish humanity for polluting. I really do. I'm occasionally bothered by the fact that she's so incompetent at it. But on the other hand, that also makes for fun viewing. And honestly, my biggest issue with the show is Sanai. Sanai is disturbing. This is the girl who has a raging Squid Girl fetish, and it's she takes stalkerism to a whole new level, and the character is disturbing, and it's played for laughs, but
And we watched a few of the shorts.
there only were a couple. We were puzzled by this. We thought there was a whole bunch of shorts, but the Sentai release only has a couple of them. But I did get to see the OVAs, and they are quite good. So then I have also continued on in various shows that I've been watching. Some Friends, CSI, Boardwalk Empire. Actually doing really good with CSI, getting a lot of that in. And several notable movies have been knocked out. But first I want to mention also, when my brother was over last week, we watched a little bit of Netflix, and he introduced me to a show, and I introduced him to a show that I was also introduced to, because I don't watch much Netflix. So I saw the first episode each of Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, and comedians riding in cars getting coffee. Second one first. This is Jerry Seinfeld's show where he calls up a comedian, they get in his car, and they go have coffee. Plot-wise, that's the show. And I saw the first episode with Jim Carrey. And I'll admit, Jim Carrey seems a very affable guy. He seems like a really nice guy. He is a kook, and everyone knows it.
Yeah.
But you actually walk through his studio, if you've been seeing anything about the paintings he's been doing.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, man. But, you walk through his little studio there. But I'm sorry, I've never been a giant fan of Jerry Seinfeld. He's funny, but he's not funny. I never got the big deal about Seinfeld. And in this show, I really felt like it was an excuse for him to show off his car collection. I'm sorry. If you like fancy cars and mild chuckles, you'll like the show. But the other one, I saw the first episode of Lemony Snicket, and I loved it. I loved it. It's like a Wes Anderson movie, had a love child with a Tim Burton movie, and Patrick Warburton did his best Rod Serling impression, narrating it, giving it a whole Twilight Zone vibe.
Oh, Patrick Warburton, and then, of course, Neil Patrick Harris's
Oh,
performance.
man, yes.
In that.
Speaking of Jim Carrey, Patrick Harris plays Carrey's role, Count Olaf, and does a wonderful job, at least in the first episode. But I had no idea Warburton was playing Snicket and narrating. I don't think the movie had a narrator. I think they just played it straight.
Though it worked well with that, especially if you've read any of the books.
Yeah, I never have. I'd like to, but I love that, and I want to watch the rest of it. But I also saw quite a few movies. I saw, for our video, if you've been watching, last week we did our Movies Galore discussion on Splash. The viewing of that movie, of course, was in the last couple weeks, and tune into that discussion for our take on the movie. Victoria and Abdul. I have been waiting for a long time. I accidentally canceled my hold on the movie somehow, so I had to wait an even longer time. This was an Oscar nominee for makeup and costume, I believe, and it features Judi Dench as Queen Victoria and Ali Fazal as a young clerk from India named Abdul, and it co-stars Michael Gambon, Tim Pigott-Smith, and Eddie Izzard. And it's a really good movie. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. It's an interesting take on history. A lot of people don't even realize some of the things that, it's a little bit of British history I didn't know that much about. And then the following day, I watched a very odd movie called Thoroughbreds.
Oh.
It stars Olivia Cooke and Anya Taylor-Joy. And between this and Split, I am becoming a big fan of Taylor-Joy. I think she's got some skill. But they play upper crust girls, high school girls. Cooke has mental issues. She has no emotion. She's I think, isn't this like the clinical definition of a sociopath? Someone who cannot empathize, cannot feel. She's very strange, and she becomes reacquainted with a childhood friend, who Taylor-Joy is just this pampered upper class girl, who despises her stepfather, who's played by Paul Sparks of Boardwalk Empire fame, and he is very different in this movie. And the two of them concoct a plot to do him in, and they hire a local ne'er-do-well played by Anton Yelchin, and I think this was his last theatrical release.
Oh, really?
Unfortunately, and of course you remember he died a couple of years ago at a very young age. This was a film that I think may not have been his last movie, but I think it was his last released film. And then I finally saw Pacific Rim, the Guillermo del Toro film about kaiju and Jaeger, and it has the most odd and awesome cast I can think of. Stars Charlie Hunnam, Idris Elba. You've got my ain true love, Renko Kikuchi, and my brother's good boy, Charlie Day. And it was just a fun movie, and I enjoyed it, and I really look forward to seeing the sequel. And then my last viewing is going to be a lead into my reading, because I finally rewatched, or I mentioned in our pickups video that I have launched in finally to viewing my Criterion films. I'm debating going back and doing a big revisit of my whole collection and actually trying to hit all the bonus features. Unfortunately, the first one I chose has so many bonus features. Hours and hours of bonus features. But I watched Alfred Hitchcock and David O. Selznick's Rebecca, which is a great film. I think it's overrated, but a great film. One of the inspirations for a short story that I will one day get published. And it was very good, and I will say this about the Criterion release. I'm not sure about the audio. I'm not sure if it was wonderfully remastered or somewhat remastered, but I will say this. Visually, it's gorgeous. For a film from 1940, it looks good. So they did a really, really good job with that.
Alfred Hitchcock is pretty good regardless.
Well, yeah. But one of the interesting things that I did look at bonus features, Criterion releases always come with a booklet that has a critical essay, which is always worth a read. It's always very interesting. But this one also came with a series of memos surrounding the film. And one of them is a short one, about 2 pages, from Hitchcock to Selznick, where Hitchcock kind of is wheedling about certain things he wants to do. And the other one is like an 8-page memo from Selznick to Hitchcock, where he runs him across the coals. I was astonished to read anyone ever put pen to paper against to Alfred Hitchcock with this level of venom. He hated Hitchcock's original treatment of the book. And it was great to see and he did a point by point change of, this is what you need to do. And I'm like, and this is what the lead into the reading. Because Rebecca is part of the Great American Read List. It's a book I've been wanting to read for a while. Daphne du Maurier is a very popular author, and this book is one of the reasons why she remains a popular author. It was a huge success when it came out, which is why Selznick wanted to do the movie. And apparently he wanted a slavishly faithful adaptation of the book. And Hitchcock didn't. And to put it mildly. So I started it this morning. I'm 4 chapters in. I really want to know how close the movie ended up being to the book. Not to mention the fact that this will be my 5th book on that list. I'm trying to hit 10 of them this summer. And incidentally, the 4th one I finished in this 2-week period. Ellen Montgomery's Anne of Green Gables. I finally read that. Really good book. I liked it. But strangely enough, it's a series, but for the Great American Read, they only cited the first book. And I do think they were totally arbitrary in what they picked for a series and what they picked for, because The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I've read 5 of the 6, but that was only cited for the first book. Ken Follett's Pillage of the Earth was only cited for the first book, and yet Hatchet they picked as a series. It's weird. But anyway, so I would like to read the rest of it, but one day. I read a little more One Piece and another volume of Suicide Squad. And then the big reading. The big one. The big one, where I read the whole book in the 2-week period since I've been here. I loved this book. Frederick Bachman's Us Against You. It's his sequel to the book Beartown. And it obviously takes place in Beartown and in the neighboring town of Hed in Sweden. And it's ostensibly a book about hockey, but it's really a book about a community that's defined by hockey.
Me like hockey.
Yeah, me like hockey. You like hockey. No, they filled. I mean, the book. It's probably going to be a film, and it should be. Although I think a series would work better, because Bachman has left open the idea of making a series of books, from what I understand. Mm-hmm. And I do see room for at least one more in this series. The first book follows this community of Beartown through a hockey season where a major event happens that completely baffles, changes, shocks the entire community and causes no end of strife. And this book is all about the fallout. The title, Us Against You, is very fitting. It's a book full of conflict, but it's really good. Really, really, really good. And I'm becoming a huge fan. Bachman, of course, also wrote A Man Called Ove, which I loved. I'm becoming a huge fan of this guy, and I'm going to have to read more of his stuff, you know. But that's really what I've got. I don't think there was anything else. If I think of anything, I'll mention it. But
I'm going to be pulling you closer.
Yes.
Shaking.
Now that I have monopolized everything, you can go.
Well, as I get a better view here, and a little bit better for relaxing, instead of showing you our... showing you most of the love seat, you can see more of the movie room. Actually, behind us is where we record.
Yes.
And in June, we had actually hit our first anniversary of doing this series. Well, not the vlog.
Totally forgot to say anything about it, of course.
I had totally forgotten about it myself. It's just, you never know when things like that happen. So mine, I have my own list. I've been keeping it up in my phone as I see it. This is how because every time I come here, I either haven't watched anything or I've forgotten everything I've watched. Not this time. So I've got some stuff that I've seen and I've finished. Well, I'll start with Rugrats Season 3 and 4. I loved Rugrats when I was young. The Nicktoons kind of debuted when I was in my early teens, I think 12, 13 years old. It really was a fun time. I think the Nicktoons started around 1990, 1991, and Rugrats was one of the first. And it's about this group of babies, and of course the babies can talk to one another, and it's all about their take of the world. And I found it very neat, very imaginative. I thought the later seasons were kind of meh, but the first 4 seasons were incredibly good. If you get a chance, you can get these fairly cheap at $10 to $15 a season, and that is not bad when you're talking about a decent number of episodes of a classic Nickelodeon series. The transfer quality is so-so. One of the episodes where they're in the park, it looked like a VHS tape almost, quality-wise.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was not very good there. But for the most part, it's a decent quality. Of course, like he said earlier, I watched Splash. And if you want more on that, there's a discussion that took place last week on Inside Movies Galore. Check out the link in the description below. I always include it. We're pretty good partners with Inside Movies Galore. We've worked with each other. I've actually done a few videos for their site, and later on I'm going to be taking one of theirs to place up on our site. Of course, with their permission.
Ooh. I remembered something.
Oh, yes, that release.
Hold that so that I remember it.
So, if you want the original one, there is a bigger one up there at the top. You can see it.
Yeah.
There's actually 2 releases of that. That one up at the top was more recent. The ones at the bottom were the older releases.
Right.
So, next up, I've been working with my wife to watch a film, but we always kept falling asleep because we always watch it as we're getting ready to go to bed. And unfortunately, that means we fall asleep partway through the film. But after many tries, we finally both watched Resident Evil Damnation, which is one of the 3 Resident Evil computer animated films. I actually really love this because, unlike the other Resident Evil films, this one had something to do with the with the actual game. That's a rare thing. And there's a part where the plane crashes. A plane crashes directly into an airport terminal, and as you see the wreckage and the zombies milling about, it almost feels like you want to take the controls and just go at it.
Oh.
You haven't seen that one, have you?
No. But remind me when you get to the watching part. There was one I forgot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, the next up is Anaconda, which is a part of a 4-movie set that I ended up purchasing in preparation for this week's discussion, which is on a film called She-Creature, which, by the way, I also saw. But we'll start with Anaconda. Matter of fact, these 4 are the 4 that are on this set.
Now, is this the Anaconda with John Voight and Jeff?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
with Ice Cube and... Was it Ice Cube? Yeah.
I think so, yes.
And
Jennifer Lopez, isn't it?
yeah, it's actually a fairly fun, but terribly aged
Stupid movie, but fun. I haven't seen it in I don't remember how long.
It's about a bunch of people who go to the Amazon to look up stuff, and then they pick up a poacher of some sort, and then they go trying to find snakes, and then they find the snake, and then they regret finding the snake, because it's a really big snake that probably does not act like Anaconda.
The age-old story.
Matter of
I
fact,
just remember the one scene where one of them gets swallowed, and you see like the perfect outline of them screaming, and I'm like, oh my god.
just the stuff that the Anaconda does, I think to myself, I don't think that they can do that sort of thing.
No.
Like take the tail, whip a person down, then wrap it up and then throw them up in the air.
It's
and
very fast, isn't it?
That's even
Anaconda-
faster than a real anaconda.
Well, I was going to say, anacondas are not fast snakes. They're massive snakes.
And deadly
They can
still.
move quickly in the water, but nowhere near what they show in this movie. But
Well, if it moves slowly, then they wouldn't have much of a movie, would they? Oh, look, the snake, it's coming at us.
I still say my rejoinder to that is that one scene in Frankenhooker where they couldn't outrun the push lawnmower.
You're gonna die. I'm going to kill you with a Zamboni. So the second movie on the set was a movie called Red Water. I'll admit, I didn't care as much for this one. It was a crocodile one. No, that's Blackwater. It was a crocodile one. This one was about a killer shark in a river. Apparently, one of the world's hungriest bull sharks swims from the ocean way upriver. And yes, they can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But it decides to terrorize a town that is on, not necessarily spring break, but I guess a lot of teenagers going there. And then it suddenly moves to some sort of caper where this group is trying to get money and holds an oil rig hostage. I mean, this shark basically goes around and eats 4 or 5 grown people. And still hungry and trying to, jump at people and such. I don't know about you, but I feel like the shark would probably be done with them by then. I can't imagine a shark being able to hold more than 4 grown people in its stomach. At least not a bull shark.
Where does this take place?
Gosh, I don't know. Some mythical place
Mythical place.
where sharks swim like hundreds of miles upriver.
I was just thinking, though, the idea that bull sharks can go way upriver. They can do freshwater. They have been recorded up the Mississippi at least a certain distance. So I could see them doing a movie like this and somehow doing a spin-off, see what I did there, into the Sharknado series.
Sharks
'cause-
of the Mississippi.
Yes. I mean, if you get sharks in tornado country, that seems like a logical...
Riverboat sharks. But maybe it's because a shark likes the waters. I mean, up in New York, you got all that fan coral and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Splash was such a good nature documentary, let me tell you.
So, of course, this week's film for Inside Movies Galore, which will have aired by the time this has come on,
Yep.
is called She Creature. We are continuing our mermaid and a sea-oriented theme, at least until next week, where we're going to take a break at the request of several of the members. But,
yes, for some reason, when I mentioned a movie that got lodged in the host's brain as one he wanted to see, and they decided somehow to tack these two movies in front of it. I don't know.
Well, yes, and that's going to be the lure.
Yeah.
But
I would have personally rather done the Disney Little Mermaid right before the lure or the Hans Christian Andersen, because the movie is a gigantic FU to both of those. But I'm curious about... I hope I get to join in. Or, well, I guess we'll find out if I get to join in.
yeah, well, you already know if you've watched it.
Yes. I'll have to watch it and find out if I was there. But I don't know if I'll get to watch the movie. I hope to.
But this one's about this traveling circus, and they find this mermaid that this guy had been keeping. And he warns them and says, this mermaid's dangerous. Don't mess with it. So what's he do? He messes with it.
Yeah.
And thus, he takes the mermaid with him on the long boat ride home. Unfortunately for him, he may not get there alive.
Yes.
Well, that's enough of that one. Then there's Black Water, which is the last of the four on there. And that's the one about the crocodile, like the killer salty. And it's... Well, I was bored by it.
Yeah.
But
No Betty White?
No Betty White.
Oh.
There's just like one salty, and it
You
already
can't
taken
have
out
a
several
good
people.
crocodile film without Betty White.
There's just one character in this that annoyed me. Because as she would run, she would splash as loudly in the water as she could, as she sobbed and screamed every time she would get in the water. And she was constantly screaming her head off and sobbing when she was out of the water. And it's no wonder that the crocodile ate her.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the great things that Brave Wilderness showed us is crocodiles and alligators, they both hunt by feel almost as much by sight and sound. So when you're splashing in the water and panicking and yelling, you're telling that crocodile, come and eat me.
Much like if you do the same in an area that's infested by sharks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last but not least on what I finished this week, Rick and Morty Season 3.
Slightly different program.
Yeah, slightly. But Rick and Morty, it's one that I've been meaning to see. This is the one that started the whole Szechuan sauce craze. And also the whole Pickle Rick thing. And
Pickle Rick.
these are like just 2 episodes, essentially, that you get out of this. I don't know. I don't understand the fans.
What was Rick's justification for becoming a pickle? I can't remember. He had a weird justification.
He wanted to skip out on family therapy.
Oh, yeah.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
I thought he stayed Pickle Rick for a while. That's the way that the whole previews go, but it's only 1 episode.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ruin much more of that for the rest of you if you haven't seen it yet. But it is fun. I really do like Rick and Morty. It's a fun show. I do have a little bit of news related to Rick and Morty at the end. But it is enjoyable. I binged that really quickly.
Okay.
So you said you had one more thing on the watch.
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot to mention the show I just started. On our pickups, I talked about how if a show's been around for a while, I tend to want to get it because I feel like the name is going to bug me if I don't, And also, I was much more when I was actually taking the time to record credits, but I'm not doing that anymore because that took way too much time. I was really into collecting for the cast. And there is a show that hits both of those ding, 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 because it has a phenomenal Seiyu cast and a really good, and it's really high name recognition. And that's the Clamp series Angelic Layer. I have never seen it. And he had the old, the ADV, right? Is it ADV?
Actually, you got it.
Yeah, I forgot to mention it. But Sentai did a re-release, so mine's not as nice as the old release, but it's a nice little compact set. And I'm almost halfway done, and it's a pretty fun little show. I'm enjoying it.
So I don't know, is it just me, or does the professor in that come across as a bit of a pedophile?
A bit. A bit. I don't know.
It's been years since I've seen that.
He tells her the first time he meets her, he's like, "Call me Wiggly-chan." It's like, he really comes across as a creep, but like, he's mostly nice. He mostly seems to have her interest at heart, but he was way too familiar with a little girl, and the way he treats his coworkers too is a little to be desired there. And I will admit, and you'd probably be surprised to hear me admit this, but the girl, man, I'm having trouble remembering. Miyuki, is that it?
Don't ask me. It's been years.
Her voice is pretty high, even by my standards. Wow. I mean, most of the vocal acting's pretty solid. And it does have, like I said, some really big names. Satsuki Yukino, Kikuko Inoue, Yui Horie, some really, really big names. But I do think the main girl, her voice is a little high, even by my standards. But so far, I'm enjoying it. It's essentially a sports anime, but, revolving around, a more diverse cast than you might usually see with a sports anime, Yeah.
Oh, it's fun. It was enjoyable.
Yeah. And anything Clamp, you've got good visuals. They're very, very good art. And Clamp always has their own little quirks. So I guess by their standards, the professor doesn't come across as too out of the park. Yeah.
So, our next grouping is ones I've been watching, which is, I've been continuously trying to rewatch Hitman Reborn, which is a fun series. If anybody hasn't watched it or been watching it, it's easily available on Hulu or Crunchyroll, and will soon be available on physical media this fall.
Yes.
It's going to be released in 2 parts.
One of the ones we forgot, as long as that video was about the stuff that needs releasing, we forgot Reborn. But then not a week later, they announced its release. So that's cool.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
They did it because we didn't mention it.
There you go. And the other one we forgot, I went back and put it in the comments, but we forgot Kiran Kazukaniki.
Oh, yeah. That's been so long since I've watched some of these.
That was a good show.
But Reborn is fun. It's a little shonen series about this little baby assassin, who is training this nobody to become the next mafia boss. It's a fun series. It's enjoyable. If you haven't checked it out and you like some shonen type series, check it out. It's very comedy heavy at the beginning, much like the manga, and has a couple of these comedy heavy storylines, but after it gets going, it really gets going and starts getting pretty darn serious. So it's enjoyable. Then a little bit more of my Little Witch Academia, which that's it there. I didn't get much out of it. I think I got half an episode. I watched another episode of My Hero Academia, which continues to build on things. They're working on getting their pre-hero licenses. I started a series. This is one I did want to definitely talk about, which is on Showtime, which has been making news.
Yes.
We talked about a preview of a series that was political, and this series also is kind of political. He starts playing both sides a little bit, but does kind of linger on one. And that is This Is America.
No, it's Who Is America.
Oh, Who Is America. Oh, sorry, that's a different one. There, okay. We have Who Is America, which is a Sacha Baron Cohen film, series. And he plays 3 or 4 different characters. And does what Sacha Baron Cohen does best. If you've seen Borat, you know what we're talking about. Or Ali G. Or The Dictator. Or...
Well, The Dictator was more scripted.
The Dictator was more scripted, but there were still moments.
Yeah.
And there have actually been politicians who've had to resign because of this.
Yes.
But if you watch the episodes that they have, it is notable. And it seems like every episode there's just something new. He has Dick Cheney talk about his favorite war. Of course, he also messes with Bernie Sanders at the beginning of the first episode. It's in general good fun. Fun political humor. Open minds. Check it out. Then, we're working both on Gravity Falls. We're trying to finish that new set that Shout Factory released. And you know what I saw? Walmart. Whole series, $20.
The whole series?
Whole series.
Ooh. Is it as nice? It's not as nice as
No, it's just like a simple DVD series, about the same width as one of those DVD.
Oh, so
things.
DVD.
Yeah.
Oh,
But still, $20 for 40 episodes.
not bad.
There's another couple series on Netflix that I thought that were interesting. One called Agretsuko, which is a Japanese anime, and I think you'd like this. It reminds me of Office Space with cutesy animals.
With cutesy animals?
Yes. So you've got these cutesy chibi animals, and they live in a chibi animal society, and it follows our main character, who is a red panda, and she works her life away in a menial office job. This is a sort of slice of life in the workplace.
You sure this wasn't just an episode of, what's his face? Man, I'm drawing a blank now. That channel that you like so much. Okay.
So now you see what I'm talking about, the
Right.
little red panda things.
Yeah.
And what happens is, to blow off steam, she actually likes to sing death metal, but not quite like,
Not quite
DMC.
like
DMC, because she's not really successful with it. She likes to go karaoke, and she sings death metal related to what she hates about her job, her chauvinist boss, her failing love life, all of those basic things. It really is a fun series, slightly depressing, slightly downbeat, but I do look forward to season 2.
She's not as perverted as the manager, right?
No.
Good.
She's not perverted at all.
Okay, good. Well, then again, neither is Krazyzius' alter ego.
So, Dark Tourist is the next one. We watched a couple of this just last night. And it's about dark tourism, which is going to places that are dangerous and not usually on the beaten path. During the episode, this guy, who's, I'm guessing, a comedian, goes to places like, he went to Fukushima, to the live radioactive area. He went to the suicide forest, but not Logan Paul style.
Okay.
And he also went to Mexico to witness a exorcism Day of the Dead festival, like up close with a lot of the gang areas. And it really is an interesting show. He goes to Colombia and does a Pablo Escobar tour. And apparently that's a big business in Colombia, is in the city where he's
that
from.
wouldn't surprise me, sadly.
There are lots of a lot of those tours, and one of his hitmen, which is out of prison and now has a YouTube channel, he actually got to do an interview with him, and he also does these tours. But I guess no one would know better than that. And finally, as research for a joint effort with Movies Galore, I am watching an Edison documentary, an Edison short film set. Kino released this set. It's really cool. I'll probably show it in the pickups in the future. But it's got a lot. And it is a slog.
Oh, shoot.
You get to see some of those early ones. I mean, like some of the first film ever done. But you also get to see some really cool things on top. You had something on?
No, I just remembered. You mentioned Kino sets and everything. I remembered I forgot to bring back your Magic of Melee set. Which, incidentally, I don't know that I mentioned that in last time. I think I saw it during this 2-week
You probably
period.
did.
But the Magic of Melee set was something we talked about on our Hugo Inside Movies Galore talk. And that's a really cool set. It's got a lot of really old short films, 1904 to 1908. It's got a documentary from the 70s. It was a good set. So that was a very interesting... I think that was during this time period as well. Yeah.
So, believe it or not, I finished a video game. That doesn't happen often. I don't get much time to play.
More often than I do.
Yeah. Well, I make effort too. You really don't. You put your effort elsewhere. Just like I don't read that many books because I don't put that much effort into it. Plus, it takes me forever to read anyway. I'm still working on Insomnia. It's been, I think, 2-3 years. But there's a game called Far Cry 5.
You got 3 years worth of insomnia. It's time to see a doctor.
I don't know if you've heard of I think you have because we've talked about it on the
you
channel.
showed me some of it.
It's rather fun.
Yeah.
It is like any of the other Far Cry games. You're put into this area that's taken over by bad guys, and you're helping a rebel force take back the land. The only difference, I think the first one was slightly different way, and the second one was kind of unique, but third, fourth, and fifth have been this formula. You take back bases, you work towards beating the main villain. The villains are supposed to be iconic. This one's a sort of Jim Jones apocalypse-style preacher type. And you get to the end. Now, I've seen all 3 endings. The best ending is the one at the beginning where you can decide to just not arrest the guy and go home. So you can save yourself a bunch of time by just getting that ending and beat the game in 20 minutes and be done. Instead, I spent countless hours on this game, taking back places, forming my redneck army, doing some weird stuff like a bull testicle festival. Yeah, weird. But in the end, that ending, I heard it wasn't a great ending, and my word, people were... It was underrepresented how bad it was. At this point, it puts a bad taste in my mouth. I don't want to play it again. And the other ending, the third ending, isn't even that much better. It's still bad. But I am playing some of the spin-offs since I did purchase the big version. And one of the spin-offs is a Vietnam one, which is a spin-off from characters you're collecting these lighters from. That back in Nam, they had these lighters that signify this is like my unit and such. So you're actually going through in the jungles of Vietnam. You're having to use some stealth. You're working hard to try and rescue your friends, get some lighters, and help teach the Viet Cong some lessons. And at the same time, eventually escape with your life. It's a fun one so far. And I'm pretty sure that it'll have a better ending than the main game. Then there's Octopath Traveler, which is an awesome RPG. I've talked about this on here before. I'll say it again. If you haven't tried it, if you've got a Switch, get this game. If you're a fan of old school RPGs, get Octopath Traveler. And finally, I caved and tried Overwatch for the first time. Overwatch is an online-only game, competitive shooter type game. They call them hero shooters because you have different heroes, and each one has powers. And so far, I'm not hating it. I'm not loving it, but I'm not hating it yet. But I only had like an hour worth to try it out, and maybe later on I'll try a little bit more of it and see what I think.
I have to admit, I'm a little curious because that's so popular nowadays.
So the rest of this, we can actually talk about a little bit more together, back and forth. Just general news. Things that stuck out for me, Movie Pass customers. There's some trouble with Movie Pass. Not only are they saying if it's a popular movie, you're going to have to pay $5 additional per movie now. I mean, really? Might as well just buy the tickets. And not only that...
Well, $5 is still a whole lot cheaper than, and it's what was it, $10
$10 a month for now, but they're thinking about raising those prices.
Oh, yeah, now that might be a little much.
Because they've had to borrow $4 million because they're in such debt. Because they didn't think. They thought that people would buy this movie pass and maybe watch 1 or 2 movies a month.
Yeah, right.
And that's not what happened.
No.
So
I've been kicking myself for not getting it because I'd like to see more movies.
Yeah, enjoy it while you can, those of you that have it, but don't expect it to last forever. It's going to either change or it's going under. Because I know you thought about that, and I'm thinking to myself...
I just haven't gotten around to it.
I think it's just the tail end of this. I really don't think it's going to be around much longer.
Unfortunately.
So have you heard that Carrie Fisher, as a CGI... is going to officially now be in Star Wars Episode 9.
Actually, I had heard a very different story. I had heard she's in it, but that they're not using CG. They're using unused footage.
The idea was that they're going to combine the two and see if they can make a semi-realistic Carrie Fisher using a combination of CGI techniques and scenes. I don't like that.
Well, again, I heard something very different where they emphatically said no CG, so I don't know what the story is going to be at this point, but she is officially in the movie.
Well, I could see them doing that, though. They've threatened it off and on. And with things going up and down with the Star Wars movie group, it doesn't matter if they made it all CGI Carrie Fisher, they'll still make a mint.
Yeah. Although... you need only look at Solo to see they can make a mint and still fail. Which is kind of sad.
Yeah, well, Solo didn't really fail.
It did, according to Disney.
According to Disney, but still, it made bank.
Yeah, well, the thing is they spent so much on it that it really didn't make as much bank as some movies do.
Well, people are getting Star Wars fatigue.
That's part of it.
I mean, you've got the new season of Rebels.
Yeah.
They're starting up Clone Wars again.
Yeah.
It's just...
Of course they are.
Overabundance of Star Wars in the community. So, Kevin Smith is teasing a huge budget film. Are we going to get Clerks 3?
Obviously, that's what he's talking about.
Or the Jay and Silent Bob sequel?
Obviously.
Though, believe it or not, he has talked about those two.
Actually, though, you know what I could see, though? What seems very likely is that at the end of Captain Marvel, they will tease a Kevin Smith tie-in. You'll see a couple of different characters in the like you'll see Dante and Randall, and you'll see Jay and Silent Bob, and you see them go poof in the wind.
Actually, you know what I'd like to see him
What's
do?
up?
I'd like to see him do a screen adaptation of his Green Arrow story.
Ah,
That was a spectacular one.
could be, because they have not yet done a big screen Green Arrow.
And he would be a good addition to the Justice League.
Yeah. Well, and Lord knows they need good stuff in the DC.
Well, you've seen the trailers, right?
I have seen the trailers for Aquaman and for Shazam, and it's interesting.
Very lighthearted looking, a lot of them.
Well, especially
Aquaman's
Shazam.
slightly darker, but
Well,
it's,
yeah.
but still lighter than the traditional
Right.
sepia tone
Yeah.
thing.
I think they finally learned their lesson there, but they have so many lessons they still need to learn.
Aquaman looks like it's going to be fun, though.
It does.
And Shazam looks like it's going to be cheesy, but also looks like it could be fun.
Well, I know one of my brothers is pretty big fan of Black Manta, and he had commented, well, at least they did Manta right. And from what I saw in the preview, I think he doesn't look bad. So, yeah.
So, I will be curious how it looks. And, of course, they have the Teen Titans trailer. Or as known, the Fuck Batman trailer.
Well,
I don't know if you saw that one, right?
I'm not sure.
Oh, they look like they're doing, according to the Teen Titans trailer, they're doing it on the DC. There's this DC...
Like an actual Teen Titans?
Yes, live-action TV series.
I did not know about this.
And it is being broadcast on the DC Comics pay-to-play service, which is going to have DC movies, DC Comics access for like a subscription fee. And it's a very dark Titans with a questionable costuming choice for some, but Robin's costume looks good, though he is a bit dark. I mean, I think he stabbed somebody in the neck in the
Is it
trailer.
Damian?
No, it's Dick.
Oh,
It's Dick Grayson. I don't get that.
That's
Dick
kinda
Grayson
messed up.
stabbing someone in the neck.
That's kind of messed up. So you know what would be really hilarious is if they get Puffy Amiyumi to do the theme to this one as well.
Well, speaking of that, you realize that right now on Rotten Tomatoes, Teen Titans Go to the Movies has a higher rating than the recent Avengers movie.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. I really wanted to go to that, and I still kind of do. I'm still tempted. I may go to Teen Titans Go to the Movies.
But they are now thinking about, because it's been very widely successful and very well liked.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I have a hard time, but it's not my demographic. It's meant for those of you who like that series. I do apologize when I say, but the demographic is much, much younger than me. the fart jokes and the basic humor and the lack of any real comic book fighting and stuff like that, it just I don't know, it just isn't for me. I wasn't a huge fan of the other Teen Titans series. I saw that it had its good points, so don't come after me. But
does it look like the live action one's essentially the same team, or they mix it up a little bit?
Oh, it looks like the same team, essentially. I don't know if Cyborg's going to make the appearance, or which Cyborg, whether it'll be a special TV Cyborg.
I'd really like to see live action Starfire and Raven, and Beast Boy for that matter. So that'd be kind of cool.
And of course, there's actually two things on the Me Too movement.
Oh yes,
Chris Hardwick is back.
Oh.
He's back on Talking Dead. They did their investigation. AMC did the investigation, and actually, you're going to see two instances of this. They did their investigation, and they said there's no proof that he did any of these things.
Mm-hmm.
She claims she has proof held back, but is not willing to put out that proof. So, innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
And unlike Disney, who ejected one of their directors, AMC doesn't have to worry about their reputation that much, and they don't have a huge merger with Fox that they're trying to do. And of course, you know that the Guardians of the Galaxy, this might be what you're talking about, that their cast is actually vying to have him restored to directorship.
Yes. So to back up and tell the whole thing here, James Gunn was let go from the Guardians of the Galaxy because Disney uncovered some past comments he made, and they said that this does not jibe with our image and everyone who knows him is like, this was a while back. I don't know the comments. I don't know if they're really horrible or not.
Well, they're not great comments.
No, they're not. But, but still, his reputation now is that, he said some dumb stuff when he was younger, but everyone that worked with him on the films is like, we want this guy to stay. And I'm not going to comment one way or the other, but I'm like, it looks good if your own cast is going to bat for you.
I mean, we're talking something that happened over a decade ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, the point is, are we going to say that somebody, once they've done something bad, that they're always bad, or are we going to allow for forgiveness? We need to pick a side on that.
Yeah, and if someone can constantly, day in, day out, make racist, xenophobic, and just plain stupid comments on Twitter and keep their job, then I don't see why James Gunn should be punished more severely. Yeah.
And also on that, there are some places that are sticking by their people. They aren't just knee-jerk, okay, you're done.
Right.
You're gone forever.
Yeah.
AMC being one of them, but another one would be Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
Rick and Morty co-creator Dan Harmon had some stuff sussed up by similar people that got the James Gunn stuff. Apparently, Dan Harmon produced a parody pilot, which was very, very distasteful. But I can understand. If you've seen Rick and Morty, this is not a far stretch. This was, again, a very long time ago when Dexter was originally starting to air.
Rick and Morty is a paragon of taste and decorum.
Oh, yeah. Well, you've seen, you know how long ago Dexter was on TV.
Yes.
I mean, it wasn't that long ago when it ended, but it began, I think, over a decade ago. Around that time, I think it was around the first, after the first season of Dexter, they decided, I'm going to do a parody show. Well, we're going to take, where this guy goes back in time. So it's a time travel show. He goes back in time to find these evil people and killers when they were babies. And then he screws the babies.
Okay.
Yeah, you see, can you see now why that might cause a little bit of a stir? And there are scenes apparently
that might be frowned upon in most quarters.
In this of where he's actually shows the character molesting the baby. Yeah, this was pulled understandably after he came to his senses about it. He even commented, like, I realized after a moment that this was a bad idea. A little bit late to decide that, considering that he got an entire pilot done. But he got it pulled, and he thought it was gone. But nothing is ever gone when the internet is involved.
No.
So it surfaced.
Ooh.
And by the way, Adult Swim is standing by him. They said, well, he's apologized. This whole thing was within his realm of humor. There are worse things that have been on TV.
Yeah.
This is not going to affect Rick and Morty viewership. So, and that's it. I mean, they're standing by him, which is quite amazing in this day and age. So, it's not just a one and done anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on who's hiring you and who's doing it. Right. They might do a slight investigation, and if they don't find anything, they hire you back like AMC.
Mm-hmm.
Or they just stick by you.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Cartoon Network.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of everything still being on the internet.
Yes.
We forgot a very major and notable viewing for this past week that I think you also did. Ningyo no Mori, Mermaid's Forest.
Oh, yeah.
Finally got to see it. after we did our thing talking about what needs an American release. It was only the English dub, and it was a poor video transfer, but I can finally
Much
say
better
I
than when
saw
you
it.
saw Mermaid Scar.
Oh, yeah, it was.
But I also gave you a link to
Yeah,
that.
I need to look that up. When I have time, I'll watch it, but I did watch that one right away. But yeah, speaking of the Me Too stuff, you've heard the main one, right?
Which one is that?
Les Moonves?
Mm-mm.
You didn't hear about this? The big guy at CBS? Yeah, at least 6 different women have accused him of sexual misconduct. Yeah. So I don't know. His wife's standing by him for now.
For
and
now.
a lot of other people are standing by him, but it's definitely caused a stir.
Yeah,
And
he's got a...
he's a big name. This would be almost Weinstein level, but on the television side.
Well,
So we'll see what happens, but yeah.
you never know. I mean, it's worth investigating,
Right.
checking it out, because if you are a douchebag like Weinstein,
Yes.
you need to be tossed. And in Weinstein's case, tossed to the wolves, because you're a
did do
despicable
that.
character, and now he's going to criminal court.
Yeah.
So I hope things go the way that they should be going. Other people like Bill Cosby, I mean, that's a lot of women. And he's probably going to be doing time until he dies.
Mm-hmm.
Which, that's there. People had been asking, they destroyed Trump's star. That was another thing. His star was destroyed. And
On the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
and people are like, well, but Kevin Spacey and Bill Cosby's stars are unharmed. It's like, well, Bill Cosby's going to jail.
Yeah.
And Kevin Spacey's never going to work again.
Yeah.
So when that happens, I will agree with you. Not that I agree with the destruction of the star, but I think that the idea is that some are going punished and some are going unpunished for those reactions and actions.
Yes.
And I think that any type of vandalism is bad.
Yeah.
There have been some amusing memes going around about it, but I really don't think that it's good for anything. I hate to see things like that. Don't destroy things like that.
Yeah.
Don't bust down statues, burn buildings, break windows, rob things in the name of a cause that I may ally myself with, but now no longer will because I don't want to be associated with that crap.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's not worth it, man. It's not worth it. You had a couple things, or at least one thing I know.
Yeah, I've had a couple of things, and incidentally, the announcement from Discotheque about Reborn included several titles, most of which I wasn't familiar with, but it's still notable. And officially, they've only announced the first half of Reborn, but hopefully the second half will come after. I know there were a couple of other release ones, but I'm going to try and think about it. This is the one that I wanted to mention. Urusei Yatsura, a.k.a. Lum. Mm-hmm. One of the series that put Rumiko Takahashi on the map. It was one of her earliest manga and the earliest significant anime. We were just talking about Mermaid's Forest, which is one of her later ones. But Lum kind of set the stage for a lot. Lum Invader is still one of the most popular cosplays in Japan. It's a very iconic character. She is the prototype for several Takahashi characters, notably Shampoo. Her betrothed, if you will, Ataru, is the prototype for pretty much every lech in anime ever. There are a lot of prototypes for various Takahashi characters. It's a fun show. It's a long show. It's way out of print and desperately needs a re-release.
Actually, this is going to be the first time they fully release it.
They're fully okay, so I kind of didn't really get to that part. They are fully releasing the manga. Mm-hmm. He has partial releases. They've never done a full release.
Yeah, I've got what they released here in the U.S. Before that. Because it's that, and there are a couple of other volumes of The Return of Lum, and it's I mean, I'm fine with what I've got. I would love to see a Mermaid's Forest release, and there are a couple others I would like to see. But,
well, there is a Mermaid's Forest release. They need to re-release.
Well, that's the thing, release, because the only release I know of is in like the little comics.
No, I have a Tonkaban volume of Mermaid's Forest, but it's only one piece of the puzzle. I need the whole thing. But yeah, Ursa Yetzor is extraordinarily episodic, and I don't know if they've really come to a serious conclusion. So it is one you could get piecemeal, but it is nice and it is exciting. Mm-hmm. And that plus Discotheque did re-release the second movie. So maybe this is indicating a groundswell towards it finally getting an anime re-release here.
That would be great.
That would be wonderful. And incidentally, tune into our re-release list when we do that. There also was another... They haven't talked about the announcements from Criterion, have we?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so these are some big ones. Criterion has talked a little bit, or they've put out some of the basic releases they're going to have in the fall. And I already have 2 that I know I'm getting in the next Criterion sale because I am excited about this. We're wanting to do a list of Criterion releases. Apparently we're going to hold it for the November sale. I'm a little disappointed because I was looking forward to that. But at any rate...
not that far away, though. I
know it's going to be sooner than you'd think. As soon as I put the list together, it wasn't 2 days later, kind of like with Hitman Reborn with the other list. Mm-hmm. He told me about something, and I went to their site and looked up, and sure enough, one of the films that was like number 5 on my list that desperately I would love to see a Criterion release. I would love to see it. I would love to see it. They have announced that in October they're doing a release of The Princess Bride. And that is awesome. I'm getting it. I'm no hesitation. Mm-hmm. I will get that. I haven't really started upgrading to Criterion. I have a list of ones I want to do, being John Malkovich, Ghost World, Mulholland Drive. There are several that I plan to upgrade. But Princess Bride, I'm not hesitating. That one's getting an upgrade as soon as I can.
Oh, yeah.
The other big one, and it is a big one, they're putting out an Ingmar Bergman set.
That's the massive set.
Isn't it? It's like 38, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a lot of films.
It's 30-some movies by Ingmar Bergman. Includes all the classics, Seven Seal... Wild Strawberries, Fanny and Alexander, Persona, Through a Glass Darkly, all these great films. It's 30-some films and all kinds of bonus features and goodies. They've got a ticket price, I think, of $300, which means at half off it's going to be $150.
Oh yeah, that's how I got the Zatoichi set for so cheap.
It's not really cheap, but
cheap
for what you get.
Yeah.
I pre-ordered the Seven Seal collection on DVD when it came out, and I think that cost me like $40 or $30 or something.
If you were charging like even the $20 a piece, you would still be getting your value.
Yeah, more. I mean, even at they $20 for Blu-ray that I typically pay, that would be for that price. You're looking at 8 films. You're looking at it's 4 times the films you would get for that price. So yeah, for movie geeks, that is the release of the fall. Probably that is going to be a big release.
As I'm looking at my Criterion collection behind.
The actually, I already have Seven Seal and Wild Strawberry, so I'm actually going to end up with some Criterion duplicates. But it will be nice to see. I'll have to check if any of the bonus features are different. I may have to keep the old releases, but if they're not, I may, But that'll be really cool. And I know there was some other release news, but I think those were the big ones.
Yeah.
And what else was there for news? I know there were a couple things. I know as soon as we stop, I'm going to think of something I wanted to talk. You know how it goes.
Yeah, well.
There's always something.
What we'll do is we're going to probably not do one of these next week because we're trying to do the top 15 list.
Yes.
And that'll take priority. And if anything has to get cut,
Yeah.
This is long, so it'll
Or
probably
we might
get
do a
cut.
short one, if like, but that would be, like you said, the first to go if one does.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we'll work on it to try and see. It'll also be about time. But I hope you all enjoyed this particular romp down. And let us know what you think about this as just a general podcast of us just shooting it, and more for listen than for viewing.
Yeah. You could put us on as you're going to sleep, and we will help cure your insomnia.
But hopefully you found some stuff that were really cool. What you been watching lately? Hopefully something good. Let us know in the comments.
Yep.
And we will see you on the next one.
Goodbye.